Welcome to Fight News Now Extra. My name is John Pollock, and I'll be joined by John Ramdine in a few minutes as we discuss this past Saturday's UFC card in Glasgow, Scotland, featuring a middleweight main event between Michael Bisping and Thales Leites. A pair of lightweights collided with both in search of a win, and we'll also chat about the now official main event for UFC 192. Michael Bisping and Thales Leites headlined the UFC's first event in Glasgow, Scotland, and fought close for 25 minutes and sending the fight to the judges. The most definitive round was the third for Leites, but Bisping was able to edge out enough rounds with his striking, footwork, and conditioning late in the fight to earn a split decision nod. With the win, it is the first time Bisping has won back-to-back fights since 2011 and has his eyes on avenging some losses at 185 pounds, including pushing for a rematch with Vitor Belfort. The co-feature on the card saw lightweights Evan Dunham and Ross Pearson square off. Dunham nearly had the fight finished in the opening round with an armbar locked and Pearson wincing in pain, but fought to break out of the hold and the fight continued. Dunham would out-wrestle Pearson for the next 2 rounds and record a unanimous decision victory and wins his second straight bout. It was also made official on the UFC broadcast on Saturday that UFC 192 will be headlined by light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier, defending his title against Alexander Gustafsson on October 3rd in Houston, Texas. Cormier won the vacant title by defeating Anthony Johnson this past May after John Jones was stripped of the gold. Gustafsson has received criticism for receiving the title fight, as he is coming off a knockout loss to Anthony Johnson this past January in his last fight. We are back this Saturday night with a pre-fight show at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Myself and John Ramdine will get you set for the UFC's return to Chicago, headlined by TJ Dillashaw and Hennenbrau in a rematch for the Bantamweight Championship. Here with John Ramdine coming out of the UFC's debut in Glasgow, Scotland, as well as Bellator 140 on Friday night. Lots to discuss. Quick thought on Michael Bisping's performance. He gets a split decision win over Thales Leites. Pretty close fight. In terms of the middleweight picture, where does this put Michael Bisping? Michael Bisping's the man. He's a star. People still want to see him fight. They know you can count on Michael Bisping. He always shows up in shape. He continues to improve his skill set. You always have a varied attack from the count. I love watching him compete just because he can compete with the best in the world. Unfortunately, at the top of that middleweight division, Weidman, Rockhold, Romero, Jacare, I think those guys are just a little too much for Michael Bisping to handle at this point of his career. So I think he should focus on what he's looking at right now. Rematches with what he calls scumbags and Dan Henderson and Vitor Belfort. Fight with Lyoto Machida. I think fights like that are going to be compelling for the fans. They're going to be interesting for Michael Bisping, and he'll continue to rack up his paychecks. I'm with you. I think a rematch with Vitor Belfort could make a lot of sense. I mean, even doing that in Brazil. Yeah. Michael Bisping's a guy you can headline a fight night card with. He's a great compliment on a pay-per-view. Lots of avenues for Michael Bisping that doesn't have to be for the title. I know that's what he wants. I just don't know if he's going to have enough time in his career to make it to that particular level. Scotland, it was a pretty fun card, lots of interesting finishes, 3 Scottish fighters all getting victories. Joseph Duffy looking great against Yvonne George. And then on Friday night, we had Bellator 140, new welterweight champion Andre Koreshkov defeating Douglas Lima. Maybe surprising to some, but I mean, he largely just shut down Douglas Lima. I thought Lima, you know, the most competitive round was the 5th, and Koreshkov, your new champion. Yeah, I'm curious to know if the weight cut's difficult for Douglas Lima, because he's huge. He's gigantic. This guy goes into the cage around 210. Yeah, so, and I've had the chance to be around him, and he's enormous. So I think this is excellent for Bellator. You know, you have Koreshkov, the young guy. So you're trying to create interest. You're trying to make it so people want to tune into this product. And I think by Koreshkov winning the title, you could, I don't know if there is any issues with Douglas Lima, but I think you can sell the rematch because maybe Lima didn't take the fight seriously or whatever the case may be. And again, the weight cut or a move up to 185 pounds. Let's see how he deals with that. But Paul Daly on the card, I think right now it's an interesting time for Bellator because they look at things from a different standpoint than the UFC. It's about entertainment. What are the fans going to react most to? And I think what we're seeing is an interesting product, and Scott Coker with his fingerprints literally all over it. It makes sense, and we're seeing a product very similar to Strikeforce. Right? Yeah, it's clear that they're going in the direction of Paul Daly and Josh Koscheck. Yeah. They've announced Paul Daly to do a kickboxing fight for that Dynamite show coming up in September. I would think you haven't announced any fight for him on that September card. I think that's as good a card as any to do that particular fight with Josh Koscheck. Certainly time is not on your side when it comes to Josh Koscheck and waiting rather than putting the fight together that makes the most sense. I mean, that seems to be the most logical fight for both at this point. It does make sense, but at the same time, Unless Koreshkov wants to do a kickboxing fight.
Hey, again, why not? I think maybe not against Paul Daly, but we've seen mixed martial arts fighters. Rampage did it back in the day, competing for K1 Pride. So I think it would be interesting.
What would Rampage do is not typically a slogan you live by.
Sure, but look at Koreshkov. As this guy evolved from the first couple of years that we saw him in the UFC, not really, but he's always exciting. And I think if you give him the right matchup in the kickboxing realm, I think it would be very entertaining. But I think what would make most sense is allow him to get a victory in the Bellator organization, give him a competitive fight, but a fight that he's going to win, and from there try to build the fight with Paul Daly.
I think one of the best handlings of a fighter thus far has been Michael Venom Page. This guy is so entertaining to watch. His style is unlike any other you're going to see at a professional level of mixed martial arts that you see in Michael Page. And some people are critical of the opponents. This guy is largely just being able to showcase his style, and it's just incredible to watch. And if you have not seen the Rudy Bears fight, I mean, it's just something to watch this guy and how he performs, and they're bringing him along slowly. These aren't deep divisions, so a lot of it is some showcase fights, and they're trying to build guys, Michael Page being one of them.
Yeah, Michael Page says that it's his goal to become the face of mixed martial arts, and he says, right now, I fight for Bellator, and I'm more than happy to be the face of Bellator, and I think it's a good thing. If people are excited, say, oh, Michael Page is fighting this weekend, it's just like Ronda Rousey. I know, because we're in so deep, and I'm not trying to compare the two, I'm comparing them in the sense that I think most people that tune into Ronda Rousey don't care who her opponent is. People are there to see the attraction, just like Page. So he goes out, he's dynamic, he has all these flashy kicks. That's what people tune in to see.
All right, Bellator's next card will be at the end of August with the debut of Melvin Gillard and Sahad Awad taking on Patricky Pitbull Freite. For John Ramdeen, I'm John Pollock. More Fight News Now Extra is coming up now.